In 1997, Ronaldo had just won his first Ballon d'Or, and Zidane the next year in 1998, the year he also won the World Cup, he too would also win the Ballon d'Or. Needless to say, France and Brazil were high favorites to make it to the final, as they had one of the best two footballers in the world at the time. Having both played in Italy in Serie A, Ronaldo for Inter and Milan and Zidane for Juventus, they were no strangers to each other. The final would be yet another showdown between the two, but with their countries this time at the biggest stage in football. However, between the two, Zidane is the one who had already experienced more success, as he was a 3 times league winner. Ronaldo and co, on the other hand, were determined to retain the World Cup champion status when they won the World Cup back in 1994. As you would expect it, both France and Brazil swept their group stage matches to advance to the round of 16. Brazil went on to beat Chile 4-1 in the round of 16, then Denmark 2-1 in the quarters. Finally, they had made it to the semis, where a tough game given to them by the Dutch saw them end 1-1 after extra time. Penalties took place and Brazil would emerge 42 victors. On the other side of the bracket, the host France would go on to eliminate Paraguay 1-0 in the round of 16. Italy 4-3 in penalties after a 0-0 draw in the quarters, and Croatia 2-1 in the semi-final. As the final approached, many were eagerly awaiting to see Zidane and Ronaldo go head-to-head. Ronaldo in the tournament was the joint third top scorer with 4 goals and had an immense amount of pressure to put up a display worthy of his ability and spearhead his team to another victory. When people thought of Brazil, they immediately also thought of Ronaldo. He was one of many superstars in the team that people had their eyes on. However, just a few hours before the actual final, word had broken out that Ronaldo was rushed to the hospital as he had suddenly fell very ill. The Brazil squad was very confused and of course also very worried about their star man. Just as suddenly as he had fallen ill, Ronaldo came back with only 40 minutes left before kickoff and was deemed fit to play despite the condition he was in. As soon as the match started, it was evident Ronaldo was just not his usual self. He didn't have the determination and will to perform. Like a domino effect, Brazil seemed completely lost too. It was almost as if you were watching a Brazil team you did not recognize, who played subpar defense with many careless passes and no will to fight. As fate will have it, Brazil would lose to France by a master display from Zidane and co, winning their first World Cup ever. As soon as the match was over, particular details began to come to light pertaining to Ronaldo of the day before the final. To many surprise, there had been reports that Ronaldo may have suffered a seizure, as his teammates and doctors witnessed Ronaldo having convulsions and shaking uncontrollably. Throughout the World Cup, Ronaldo's doctors had been prescribing him a painkiller known as Voltaren, which was to help with minor injuries and fatigue he had been experiencing throughout the tournament. Voltaren side effects do not have any mention of any convulsions or seizures. However, they do include stomach pains, headaches, and dizziness, which does help explain Ronaldo's poor state he was in prior to the final. Now, from these events, a couple of concrete conclusions have surfaced into conspiracy. If the situation with Ronaldo's health was true and that he was really sick before the game, the most likely theory is that Nike had forced Ronaldo to play in the final. The World Cup is not only the biggest stage in football, but also the world. It is also the most sporting event watched in the world, with a regular amount of over 500 million viewers on average. To put that into perspective, that is 7% of the world's entire population, making it a perfect opportunity for a company to give their brand an incredible amount of exposure. The commercial playing right now is a perfect example. Ronaldo was the poster boy of Nike, and so the company spent a massive amount of money on advertising and simply couldn't afford to let their star player sit out and not play in the world's most viewed and televised sporting event. The World Cup final would also come to be a face-off between Nike and Adidas. While Adidas sponsors Zidane in France, on the other side, Nike sponsored Ronaldo in Brazil. Considering the fierce rivalry, Nike couldn't simply let their biggest rival outdo them. So now, according to the theory, the Brazilian Football Confederation had a contract with Nike stating that they must play Ronaldo throughout the entire tournament. And so together, Ronaldo was backed into a corner by being threatened to cancel his sponsorship and seemingly being forced to play in the final. The head of the Brazilian Confederation supposedly made his way into the dressing room and personally told the manager, Mario Zagallo, to put back Ronaldo in the starting lineup. The second theory is also relatable to the first. with this theory claiming the Brazilian Football Federation, along with the Brazilian government officials, had accepted an offer to bribe the Brazilian squad with $30 million to lose the match and let France win. Along with the bribes, Brazil would be given an easy pass into the 2002 World Cup and would have a chance to secure the rights to host a World Cup all within the next decade, which is exactly what happened when Brazil in 2014 hosted the World Cup. Brazil would end up suffering one of their two top most humiliating World Cup losses, as in the semis they lost 7-1 to Germany, the other one being back in 1950 being a 2-1 loss at home to Uruguay in the final, resulting in suicides and national shock. Ronaldo had refused to throw away the match, but once again was forced by Nike to play the game. So regardless of the theories, at the end of the day, facts are facts, and the fact is that France absolutely played their hearts out and fair and square deserved to win. Zidane again proved himself worthy of Ballon d'Or and showed the world why he was the best, and in the process cementing his name as one of the greatest to ever do it. It should be said, however, that Brazil shouldn't make any excuses for what happened. The only truth in the matter is that Ronaldo was actually legitimately ill leading up to the final. Well, that's it for the video. So what do you guys think really happened? Was Brazil just having an off day, or were they deliberately playing bad? If you made it to the end, thank you very much, and remember to subscribe for more content.